All right, friends, it's Simon, and I'm back with a new video by Jason Blaha. And just came across this around 5 in the morning, 6:12 now. And then I figured, you know what? I'm going to do a reaction video to this video by Blaha, the gym, lifting, recruiting, and fitness and gear slave himself, Blaha. So Blaha says, you will not get too big naturally as a lifter. Um, that's that's like defeating the purpose then what's the purpose of going to the gym if you're not going to get too big? If you're not going to get too big as a natural lifter, why lift then? What's the point of going there? See, blah has already defeated you before it started. This is the slave. Here's the thing. This is the slave peasant mentality, because you're not going to get too big because none of you can afford to eat. Get it? That's why none of you are going to get too big, because none of you can afford to be in anabolism. Protein synthesis, the rate, needs to exceed the rate of breakdown, and none of you can afford to be in that rate. Then again, some of you don't even have the time, or the affordability to be in that, to be in anabolism, to keep building muscle. So what's the point of going to the gym? Get it, dude?
Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, representing Jason Blaha Strength and Fitness.
It's like Blaha. Blaha cannot afford to eat. He just eats what he eats, like a regular meal, like a regular person. But his activities are not what a regular person would do. Regular people, they walk, they go out, they eat at the restaurant, they go with their friends, they go home, they watch TV. Those are regular people. But blah, he's a type of abnormal human being. He's in the garage lifting, breaking down proteins all day. Then he goes and eats an ordinary diet. What's in his basket? Basket? You need a basket? Bro, I can eat out. I don't need baskets. I don't need to go to Aldi. It's the cheapest store in the United States, as far as I could remember when I lived in Chicago, is Aldi. You know, Aldi's like the cheapest shit, bro. So he probably shops at Aldi, that crappy store, buys all his stuff, because it appears that way. So it's just that little basket with a bunch of a small amount of food. I don't know if that's for the entire week or what. If you're trying to live off peasant slave food diet for the entire week on that little amount of food, and you're trying to build muscle, well, good luck with that. It ain't never gonna happen, bro. Get it? That's why Blaha looks the way he does. Just waste of time, all of you.
You guys will never get too big naturally. Quit worrying about this nonsense. But a quicker...
Yeah, because Blaha's already defeated all of you, because maybe he's saying that because he believes that you're like him on food stamps, on the slave food peasant diet. So none of you are going to get too big because none of you can afford to eat and be in anabolism, so you can keep building muscle. None of you are going to do that.
Reminder, if you guys will please click like down below, be greatly appreciated. If you're not subscribed or following, please do so. And if you'll be kind enough to drop me a comment down
below. Right away. I'm on my way.
Well, I would appreciate that so much. All right, guys. People really worry about this stuff.
They do they?
Too much. Or, unfortunately, for a lot of guys, they think that they're going to get really massive natural. And I'm not telling you that there is a natural limit per se, because it really is like...
There's a natural limit per se. There is no limit. There is no limit. The limit is what you place on yourself. You understand me? If protein synthesis does not exceed protein breakdown, if you're not in consistent anabolism to build muscle, if you haven't suppressed the catabolic hormone, if you haven't stopped the breakdown, and you're now building up, see what I mean? If you're constantly building up, then there is no limit. But if you're in between, if you keep breaking down, building, breaking down, building, if you're not consistently building, then you're not building. It's like this. You're on a construction site, right? And you're building a building, but all of a sudden the building falls down again. Then they have to reconstruct the building. And then as they're reconstructing it, it falls down again because The materials, there's not enough to keep it together. The glue or there's not enough nails to keep it together. There's not enough nails, the structure falls down again. And then they try to reconstruct it again. And then it falls down again. And they try to reconstruct it again. That's you. You understand me? If you're doing that, it's kind of obvious you're never going to make it. The construction has to be consistent. They have to keep building and keep building and keep building until that building is been completed. Yeah.
It's not a hard limit, right? When I say, that, hey, most guys will never reach like a 25 fat-free mass index fairly lean. It's almost unobtainable, natural, nearly unobtainable.
No, lean mass is not impossible to obtain. He's making these things up. There's a lot of people with very lean physiques out there. That has nothing to do with it. That has nothing to do with bodybuilding aesthetics. Bodybuilding just means you're building your body. The premise of building your body is very specific in bodybuilding. The number one specificity, the number one thing you need to be in bodybuilding is anabolic. That's number one. If you're a natural lifter, you need to be anabolic. How do you be anabolic? Easy. Protein synthesis needs to exceed that breakdown. That's your steroid food. Protein and amino acids are going to be your steroids. Get it? So you need to consume a lot of it to be an anabolism. Number two, you need to create a level of damage to your muscle fibers. So you want to lift periodically. You don't want to lift consistently because that's based on endurance lifting. And if it's based on endurance, then every time you so-called recover, that word recovery, every time you recover, you're going to recover with glycogen synthesis. Get it? Glycogen will synthesize into your muscles because the majority of your diets, I know, are slave food peasant carbohydrate diets. Get it? And that's what's going to load in there. I'm not stupid. I know what people are doing out there. It's kind of obvious.
Doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means that it's kind of one of those things that you could get closer and closer to, and you guys will probably not reach it because of the amount of time it takes. Does that make sense?
The amount of time it takes, it's a very short time. Because why is it very short to build muscle and build your body? Because you need to be anabolic. You need to be in anabolism. So you need to eat a lot. So the run is very short. But if you're not exceeding breakdown and you're eating and you're not eating, not eating enough, then of course it's going to take you decades doing like constructing and then it falling down, constructing, falling down, constructing, falling down. It's never going to make it to the top. You're never going to make it to the top. To make it to the top, to reconstruct that building, slowly as you keep going through your sessions, you need to be anabolic the whole time. Yeah, can you do that? The question is this. It's not the question whether you can or you can't. I mean, whether you can eat enough or not, it's whether you can keep that consistency. So here's the thing. You're a very consistent slave, lifting slaves in the gym, breaking your body down. But can you be consistent in eating and keeping yourself anabolic? Now that is a feat. Get it? You understand me? See, all you consistent lifting slaves are very consistent going to gyms, lifting the weight up and down, right? Getting hypoxia, right? Maybe damaging your muscles. I don't know, whatever the fuck you're doing there. But guess what? The one thing that none of you are consistent in, being anabolic and growing muscles. So you are all disgruntled because you're upset because the weights didn't build you any muscles. But weights, they don't build muscles, fools. Food does. Get it? You being an anabolic growth state. Hello.
Guys hear that and they think, well, does that mean that's
Why do you think Blaha's a failure?
hard limit? Well, no. I mean, the younger you start, the closer you're going to get. And hypothetically, again, I don't want to give people...
Not necessarily if you don't eat. The younger you start and whatever. See what I mean? You may be using up all your testosterone now. So it's being funneled towards muscles and maybe you're not going to grow completely because not enough nutrients in your diet. You need to be very careful what you're doing when you're lifting, especially if you're still growing. You're a teenager. If you're a teenager and you're lifting, you don't want to end up like Tristan Lee, a midget. Get it? Yeah. So you want to get plenty of nutrients in your diet. And I suggest you eat something raw. I don't know, some animal raw product. So you get these nutrients, at least raw milk or uncooked beef blood or raw milk. Just down it like crazy. These will help you, but you still need to be anabolic. So you need to eat a lot of animal products.
Too much hope there, but hypothetically, someone with really good genetics who started training at like 10 years old.
Somebody with really good genetics that started training at 10 years old. How do they know how they have good genetics yet? It could be environmental. In other words, you're eating cooked meat and eating slave food diets. And that could be a form of malnutrition. So you may not form correctly. So-called genetics may not come out completely. Get it? Depending on what you're doing there. You've stunted yourself. You didn't really form fully because a lack of nutrients in your diet, overcooked food, whatever, salads, they don't have anything in there, eating salad all day.
They might reach it in their 30s.
They might?
They might reach it in their 30s.
I love this one. They might reach it in their 30s. Is this the way he keeps you enslaved? Well, you might reach it till you're 30. So you better keep watching my videos and keep exercising the way I do and eat my slave food peasant diet and my slave peasant exercises, believing that the more I exercise, the more I'm going to build muscles. It's the less you exercise and the more you eat in anabolism that you're going to build muscles. But the more you lift, the more you're going to, how should I put it, breaking down your body, the more you're going to deteriorate faster, right? Faster than you're aging. And you're never going to build yourself, bro. You're just wasting your time. Like Blaha. That's what he's doing there. See? Look at him. Yeah. And not eating.
Okay? Right? They might reach it by 40. Okay? So I'm not saying that even that kind of...
Guys, you might reach it by 40. Wow, you're at 40. It's already time to make your will. You're gonna die soon. Some people die at 40. They don't even make it. You want to wait till you 40 till you're gonna die. What is the point of going all those years to the gym if you're trying to chase to build muscle when it's in a short run? Blah's trying to convince you that you're gonna keep trying to build something when you're just breaking things down and never building anything. Okay.
Limit that we set is completely impossible. But I think what guys are not understanding is how long it takes to build muscle. And I think...
Yeah, they just don't know how long it takes to build muscle. Yes, it's impossible. It's impossible to be in anabolism and eat all that food like Master T does, like Genetic Beast. Those buffet videos where he's actually building muscles. I'm busy here in the gym breaking my muscles down, and he's busy over there fucking building his body. And Christ, a genetic beast is not even working out, and he's eating all that food. And look at me slaving away in this gym here in this garage, fucking busting my body down and not replacing the broken proteins. That's why I'm so aged. Hello.
This is why I tell people you're not going to get too big natural, because some people say, well, new gains came quick. They trained really hard 3, 4, 5, 6 months.
Yeah, new gains came quick. They trained really hard. Want to know what new gains are? You got the noob gains according to what you were eating in the beginning. How come the noob gains stopped? Because you kept eating the same food in the beginning. Get it? And you kept coming into the gym. You haven't changed. You haven't changed what you're eating. In other words, your eating pattern didn't match what the growth pattern for muscle to grow. You need to be in anabolism. You need to be anabolic. And you haven't changed that. You keep eating the same meals again and again and again, hoping that the weights have magic powers to suck. I'm going to open a window for protein synthesis. So it's going to magically, like a black hole, it's going to magically suck all of my food in there. But if it did do that, if it was to suck all the shitty calories that you eat, the slave food diet that you eat, well, then you would starve. Get it? You would starve. If your muscles were to grab all of it in there, you would starve, bro. Get it? Yeah.
That's right. And all of a sudden they've put on, like
So
maybe
what it does is it just puts back the proteins that it lost. That's what happens. And then sometimes you get a little bit hungrier. So you're like, oh, I think I need to eat a little bit more because I worked out. I feel a little bit hungrier. I need to recover. You're all busy recovering. None of you are growing. See what I mean?
in 6 or 7 months as new gains, they put on 10, 11 pounds of actual muscle. Now they might have bulked and gained.
Yeah, I mean, people that work at factory jobs too, they make $10 an hour. Their noob gains. These are their noob gains, $10 an hour. But guess what? They're not making any more money. They're only making $10 all the time now. In the beginning, when you get your first check, your noob gain check from the $10 an hour job, you're like, hey, look, I got my check. It's great. But after that, guess what? The check stays the same. It's always the same every week, right? You're making $250 a week. If you're lucky, I don't know, $10 an hour. $250 every single week. It hasn't really changed. Get it? Or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what you're making there a week working for $10 an hour. I can't tell you. So let's say that you're making, I don't know, $400 a week, really shitty income. So $400 a week. So how do you expect to change anything in your life if $400 comes in? You can only afford what you can afford for whatever income you're making at that time. Get it? You can't afford anything else.
More body weight and they just look leaner and fuller, but they gain fat too.
Yeah.
So they see that, and then guys start having this idea in their head where they start extrapolating this is going to continue forever. Guys start thinking,
See, Blaha, if he could funnel some of his money from these channels that he makes here, this training or whatever the fuck he's doing, if he was to put that money aside and use it to eat like a normal human being, like, really eat, he probably could change the look and he'd look a lot better eating some raw meat and, raw fish and stuff. His body would start to change most likely, and it could be passed on generationally if he was to have kids. But he's lazy and his forefathers were lazy, so he doesn't really give a shit. So the bad genes were passed on to him because it's environmental. They ate fucking leaves and shit, salads and whatever. They ate plants. They didn't give a shit. They ate plants, and then they passed on these bad genes to him. See what I mean? It kept being passed down the line. Now look what he turned out to be. Like this. This is what you look like after. When you have lazy ancestors that ate plants and garbage and shit and married their cousins.
To get too big, or they're worried they're going to get too big because they see some guy on gear who's been training a really long time, they're on stuff. Look, realistically, you're not going to get too big natural. Just come in and train. Get as big as you can reasonably.
Does he look like a natural human to you with no hair on his head, that pumpkin head and that funny body? And he's underdeveloped. And he's short.
I would tell people there are health benefits to gaining as much muscle as you possibly can. All right, there are
health benefits to gaining as much muscle as you can. There are no health benefits to gaining muscle. All the health benefits stem from what you put in your mouth. That's where all the health comes from. What is your environment is your health. Your environment is your health. Christ.
Benefits, and I think what people have this idea that they're somehow going to maybe get too big or too huge.
No, there are benefits. If you build myofibrillar growth, there's benefits in sports. If you're playing sports and doing physical activity, there are benefits, but there are no health benefits because you built a muscle. If you're eating garbage all day, are you gonna be healthy? Listen, if you eat junk food all day, right, you go and try to build muscle, whatever, right? Is there health benefits because you have muscle? Because now you're eating junk food? What?
It's just not really an issue. And I would say to a lot of guys, keep your body weight down, and you don't have to worry about being too big in terms of body weight.
Look, the only time you're going to get health benefits in lifting is if you revert to eating raw animal products. If you're eating them raw, then yeah, you will promote health benefits. But if you keep eating them cooked and you lift and you eat more of these plant foods, that's gonna fuck up your health. Yeah.
You're just going to get leaner and recall. Another reason again, I tell the guys who are good for you probably don't really need to bulk, because realistically, most of you guys out there, if you're average height,
Yeah.
if you get to a lean 175, 180 pounds, you have done phenomenally well. Like if you
You're according to your height, because he thinks everybody's as short as him. So according to your height, you've done well. Yes.
reach those sort of numbers at 10, 11, 12% body fat,
You've reached these numbers. That's based on performance. That's not bodybuilding.
and you know, guys in the average height range, you need to understand how big that is. And guys are not
Big as what?
realizing how long that's going to take them. Again, I want to be clear. Once you get to those new gains, no one's gaining 10 pounds of muscle in a year again. They're just
See, once you get to those new gains, none of you are going to gain 10 pounds again, 10 pounds again, lifting or doing anything. But he keeps telling you that if you do 1 RM, you're going to build muscle. If you do 3 reps, you're going to build muscle. If you do this many sets, you're going to build muscle. But none of you are going to build muscle. Now he comes out and says, after your new gains of 10 pounds, you're never going to gain. You'll be lucky if you ever gain another 10 pounds. Why? Because you've stopped eating. You eat the same meals and you do the same exercises. You didn't change anything in your routine to be warranted for your body to be warranted to build any muscle. It has to be warranted to build muscle. There has to be something there to build, but there isn't.
not. It's not happening, not without stuff. Sorry, that's a simple.
I love this. See, it's not happening unless you take what? Steroids. Why? Because that's the peasant slave food mentality. You can't afford to eat. So, but guess what? You can afford to buy some shitty steroids and inject your butt because that's what the slaves do. But see, the people with money, they could build their body. They build it naturally. They build big, strong bodies naturally just by eating, growing up and eating all the best food, lots of meat. See, if you go downtown in the city and you look at all these people, like people of means of money, go look at their bodies and the way they look. They're tall, they're big, they're not malnourished. A lot of these people are big. I'm like, what the fuck? These office people working in buildings and shit and everything. Yeah, because it's that mentality. Their families at least raised them somewhat better than this kind of slave. They come from means of money, you know. So they're not malnourished. If you'll notice people that are malnourished when they grew up, you'll look at them and say these people they're malnourished. You'll see people they're nourished. They're nourished because they're tall, they're built, they have big bones, they have a lot of muscle. They didn't have to lift any weights to get muscles or anything. They didn't have to do any of this. Blah, he's a slave. He has to do this all the time. See, me personally, I don't have to do that. I was not completely malnourished. See what I mean? I wouldn't say I was fully, but I wasn't completely. He was completely malnourished because look at his height. He's not fully developed. He has no hair on his head. Look at him. Small boned and all that. Yeah, I got big bones, muscle, this, that. I'm tall. Fuck, way taller than him because not malnourished. I'm somewhat developed. But when I look at people walking around in the city, like people of means of money, where they had money and they could eat really, really, really well, they're fully developed. They're more developed. They're much more developed. You'll see human beings that are very developed and people that are not developed on slave food diets in your neighborhood, what your parents have been feeding you. And as these neighborhoods go, they eat less and less good food. They eat more and more junk food. I mean, Godis has done videos on them, you know. There's a lot of people, Face IQ has done a really good video on that. He shows you these real slave neighborhoods, these people, what they feed their kids. Like they give them each a pizza and all that. You can't develop on pizza, man. You need to eat animal products. So yeah, there's different classes of slaves around the neighborhoods. A lot of them eat real lot of junk food. They are so underdeveloped, and there's some are partially developed, and then there's some that are fully developed where they come from means of money, because money gives you the power to eat whatever you want. So none of you are going to build your muscles because none of you can afford to eat. If you can't afford to eat, you can't build your body. It's really simple.
Reality. So again, keep in mind those gains are going to come slow. And the reason
Those gains are never going to come because none of you can afford to eat.
And I tell guys they're not going to get too big is for a number of reasons. One, obviously, we don't
Well,
want.
he tells you that because that's the slave. That's his experience. That's his slave, peasant food, a slave, whatever, slave mentality, peasant mentality. You understand me? Yeah.
Get people's hopes completely up. But I want to be clear, you can keep making.
Yeah, but does that apply to rich people that have money, Blaha, that can eat as much as much as they want and stay in anabolism? No, none of what he says applies to rich people. All of this applies to the slaves and peasants out there. That's who's watching him. That's who subscribes to him. The majority of people that subscribe to Blaha are slaves. See, I don't have a lot of subscribers because there's more slaves, there's more peasant and slaves on YouTube than there are rich people watching. That's why my numbers are low, because I don't conform. I don't really. My channel is not geared towards peasant slaves. It's geared towards people that can afford to eat like I do, and they're able to build their bodies. Get it? So anybody that's really watching me and wants to do what I do, they have to have money. But Blaha, the people that watch Blaha, he has a lot of subs still from, I don't know, old subs, whatever, whoever's watching him. Or like Greg Doucette or these other channels, these other influencers. They're all slaves. They're all peasant slaves. So they all follow them and say, lift weights and you're going to build muscles. Because they know that you can't afford to eat food. So they feed you products. They feed you powders, products. They feed you, take whey proteins. Go buy a whey protein, a bucket. Go spend your money on there. Go eat that slave food, and maybe you'll build the muscle eating protein again, weight gainers and shit. See what I mean? Because you can't afford to eat real food.
Gains, and you can get pretty dang big.
You know,
Given
you know how popular these bodybuilding stores, these health food stores are. The sections there that they have, like weight gainers and all that. They're so popular. Why do you think? Why do you think they sell it? Because they know it's popular. It's popular with the peasant slaves. The peasant slave goes in there and buys weight gainers. You'll know right away, a peasant slave right away, if they have a lot of supplements, weight gainers, and all this kind of shit in their home. You know that person's a peasant slave lifter. Yeah, he can't afford food, so he just has enslaved himself to lifting in hopes that maybe one day the slave food may convert into a muscle. Not.
enough time and enough work, but again, it's going to take a really
Yeah,
long time.
sure, yeah, of course it is.
Okay,
Of course it's going to take a
I
long
mean,
time. Man, if you're eating celery sticks all day, of course it's going to take it's going to take a long time. You know what I mean? It's going to take forever on celery sticks and I don't know, tofu, right?
again, let's be realistic.
Yeah, let's be
To
realistic.
reach what we would think of as an appreciable solid amount of muscle,
Yeah.
like to where he's pretty good size.
Yeah.
The guy's getting pretty big. As a
Oh.
drug-free guy, you're looking at.
Oh, he's getting pretty big. Oh, as a drug-free guy, doing what? Eating carbohydrates all day? 80% of people's diets today are fucking carbohydrates. 85%. I say about like 15% is fucking animal products. They eat very little animal products and more carbs. Hell, even these so-called steroid guys, they're such peasants, man. You know right away when you see like the Trent twins eating boxes of donuts all day. You know these are peasant slave lifters. They can't afford to eat food. They go and buy Crumple. They go to Crumple to buy their donuts and shit. They eat fucking donuts and crap and Coca-Colas all day. You think that built their muscles? Donuts? Eating crappy food, toast and donuts and pastas and shit, noodles and crappy food, fast food restaurants with fucking whatever the fuck they're eating there, seed oils. You think that's what built them? They took steroids because they're used to eating slave food. Fucking it's dead, not full of nutrients. It's just garbage food, garbage in and out. So that's another thing these peasant slaves have in common. They eat a lot of real peasant food that is devoid of nutrients, of course. You know what I mean? And they go eat donuts all day, and then they pretend they built muscles because they injected some steroid that they got online.
A 10 to 12 year investment. I mean, realistically, you're really looking at 10 years of hard work, no restarts, no
See?
starting.
Only slaves would. Ooh, you're looking at hard work. Yeah, like a slave. Slaves, they worked hard and they got no reward in the end from working hard. Nobody has ever accomplished anything working hard. The only thing that you'll accomplish is working smart. If you work smart, then you'll accomplish your goal. But if you work hard like Blaha, because he has low IQ, then keep working hard is going to get you something, then good luck, dude.
Over, no regressing, rebuilding, you're probably going to need to not miss a week or two.
See, he admitted it right now. He said regressing and building, regressing and building. That's all you're doing. You're just putting back. You're breaking down and trying to rebuild, breaking down, rebuild. But you're never really building. You're never really making it.
Very often for a decade.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to have to train really, really hard.
Really hard.
So in that context, what does this mean?
See, you're going to have to train really, really hard, but not really, really smart.
It means a couple things. Number one, it means you don't have to worry about getting too big. Well, I could get too big, I could get too slow. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen in sports. It
doesn't happen, but you'll get fat eating these carbohydrates. You'll get fat, glycogen and triglyceride.
Not a concern. And again, we come over to why don't you just get leaner? Like if you're
Not
really worried about weighing too
See, not concerned. You're not going to make it. So why not just get leaner instead? Forget about building muscle.
much for whatever sport you're trying to do, one, maybe you're trying to stay in a weight class that's not appropriate for your height. Number two, why don't you just not overeat?
You're trying to stay in a weight class not according to your height. Well, if you stay in a weight class, right, a weight class, that means you're on slave food diet. You need a high nutrient diet so you can overcome any height class. You can get fully developed. So you're staying there. That means you're going to be underdeveloped. Then he says eating a lot. Listen to what he says now. Eating a lot.
So someone says, well, I'm scared of getting too big. I need to be 165.
Look what he says.
That's not appropriate for your height. Number two, why don't you just not overeat?
See, number two, why don't you just not overeat? Overeat what? Carbohydrates or a high nutrient animal diet so that you can be fully developed? Which one?
Someone says, well, I'm scared of getting too big. I need to be 165
Oh, they're scared of getting too big. I love this one.
pounds or whatever for their whatever they compete in or play. Why don't you just get leaner then? Stay 165.
See? Yeah. Well, eating slave food, they're going to get too much weight. They're going to get fat. So why not stay leaner? He's like, why not stay leaner? Well, then you'll be underdeveloped. If you stay leaner, if you get lean or whatever it is he's talking about, that means underdeveloped. He's telling you to eat less. Don't eat so much. Well, then if you don't eat enough, you'll be underdeveloped like Blaha. You'll be like him.
Why don't you just be 165 with really deep abs? That's kind of the point.
Why don't you be 165 with deep abs? Brother, man, I'm over 6 feet tall. I was already at 195 pounds or something at that age. I was young, 19. I was like 19 already at 195 or 18 or something. I don't know. I was a teenager already. I don't remember exactly, but I was 195. So I don't know what Blah's talking about.
You're not going to get big enough to where it's not going to improve your health. You need to understand that. Gaining muscle, any amount of muscle that you gain drug-free is always going to improve your health. It's always going to lower cancer risk. It's always going to...
How does it improve your health building a muscle? You already have muscle on your body, so why aren't you healthy? See what I mean? I'll tell you why you'll be cancer-free and all that if you build muscle. Because if you are really building muscle, that means you'll be eating a high animal protein diet. You don't eat any fake foods, fake man-made foods, and you try to eat as raw as possible. Then, and only then, building muscle, whatever, during this period of time, will you be healthy. Because you're eating healthy, that's the difference. But if you're eating unhealthy, trying to build muscle, you'll get cancer, you'll get sick, you'll get obese too. Lifting.
Lower diabetes risk. It's going to be good for your heart. It's going to be good for your bone density. It's going to be good for all these things.
No, it's not.
So stop.
It's not going to be good if you're eating slave food diet and lifting.
Worrying about it like it's a bad thing.
No, it's a bad thing. You should be worried about it. If you're eating slave food diets like the Trent twins and lifting weights, eating donuts, smash eat donuts and pops and shit and sugar all day, garbage food, then you should be worried. Yeah.
You're not even going to be able to gain enough muscle to really hurt your endurance as an endurance athlete or a runner.
Yeah, you already are endurance lifting right now in the gym. You're chronically lifting all the time, coming in thinking it's building muscles. Get it? Because you're opening a window for protein synthesis, but it's never synthesizing. Why? Because there's not enough coming in to synthesize.
And don't get fat. Again, I want to be clear, but just don't get fat. Problem solved. And I do
See, problem solved. Just don't get fat. But you are going to get fat if you eat the slave food diet. You'll be fat like the Trent twins. The Trent twins are fat. They eat donuts all day. They eat donuts and garbage food. They eat garbage all day. And they're fat. Are you going to say, yeah, but they're, what do you mean the Trent twins are fat? They're fat. Well, they took steroids. They built muscles. With steroids, they don't build muscles, bro. Get it? See what I mean? What builds muscles? Food. You think that donuts built those muscles? You have to be really crazy. You think steroids have magic powers that they can convert donuts into some kind of like animal product and build muscles? What do you think's building those muscles eating donuts all day? They're fat, get it? It's glycogen. Or you're gonna say, but it's yeah, but it's sarcoplasmic, it's glycogen, whatever. Yeah, but that's fat, bro. They're fat because it's not based on contractile proteins. It's based on glycogen. They're fat. It's a storage unit. Well, you're going to go fat is triglyceride. Yeah, but that could be a means of fat too. It's an energy source. It stores in your muscle, giving you the illusion that you have muscles because the glycogen built up like a bicycle pump. Get it? Just like fat cells, they get big, they get small. Triglyceride. Yeah, your muscles too. They can gain glycogen, they get big, they get small. Glycogen.
what guys are saying in extreme.
The excessive amount of sugar that's circulating in your body will convert to glycogen and load in the muscle. Get it? Yeah, especially if you take steroids. It'll load even faster. It's a hormone.
Endurance sports are saying, well, maybe my legs might get too big and I can't consume enough calories to.
See, an endurance sport. My legs are going to get too big. I can't consume enough calories. Yeah, calories. See, he never says consume enough nutrients, high nutrient diets. He's calories. It's all about energy. Your legs got too big because they loaded glycogen in there, but they'll shrink because you're doing endurance. The more endurance you do, the more you stay small because you keep shrinking. You're never really putting back enough of it inside, depending what you're doing.
My endurance event is going to make it harder. I have to eat all these extra refined calories when I compete in my.
There you go, these extra refined calories. But animal products are not extra refined calories. They're high nutrient diets. That's the difference.
Marathon or whatever. I get that. But outside of maybe some cases like that, because you just don't want to eat the extra food on those events, because fueling can be too hard, it's not a realistic concern. The same thing though when guys are talking about bulking, they're like, well, I'm going to bulk heavier, and do to or drug-free or putting on 20, 30 pounds of fat.
There you go. He's admitted it. You're going to be bulking. In other words, you're going to be slaving. You're going to do slave food diet. You're going to eat a peasant slave food diet. And then you're going to get fat. See what I mean? But let's say you eat a non-peasant slave food diet, like high animal raw based high nutrient diet. Are you going to get fat? No, absolutely not. Are you going to build muscle? Yes. So why would you eat a slave food peasant diet and bulk? Get it? It makes no sense whatsoever. None of this makes sense. Why would you do that? Only because you can't afford to eat what? A high nutrient diet. You can only afford to eat peasant slave food diet, donuts and coffee all day.
Thinking, well, if I just eat more, I'll get bigger. Guys, it's going to take you a long time.
See? If I eat more, I'll get bigger. But Blah's like, but it's going to take you a long time. Why? Because it's going to take you forever on a peasant slave food diet to get big, get it? To build muscle. It'll take you forever and it'll never happen. It'll take you forever because the truth is he wants to tell you that muscles will only build on a high animal-based diet. Protein synthesis needs to exceed the rate of breakdown, guys. Get it? and none of you can afford to eat that, and none of you could afford to do that, because all of you that are watching me, I'm a peasant slave named Blaha, and so you're peasant slaves watching me. Get it? That's why my numbers are so high, because there's more peasant slaves out there, and I cater to the peasant slave. Get it?
And the extra overeating and the bulking is not going to help you.
The over extra eating and the bulking is not going to help you, and he's absolutely correct. He knows that extra bulking, overeating of slave food diet is not nutrient dense, is devoid of nutrients to build muscles. So he admitted it's not going to work. But he does know that if protein, right, not slave food diets, protein, animal product exceeds that breakdown, then you are going to build muscle. See what I mean? But he knows that you can't afford that, and you will not eat that like I do in my videos at the buffet. You're not going to afford or go and eat that much like the way I do. See?
It is not
To actually build muscle.
going to make you gain muscle any quicker. So again, it's also
See? It's not going to make you gain any muscle quicker eating the slave food diet, the slave food peasant diet. Yeah.
the case of people need to understand that you're not going to gain muscle that quickly drug-free. So they don't bulk.
Yeah, you're not going to gain that much muscle drug-free eating the peasant slave food diet. But if you were to eat a real diet, a real high nutrient animal diet, and stay in anabolism, then yes, you're going to build muscle, yes. But none of you can afford to do that.
Can just get sloppy fat thinking they're going to.
See? Yeah, they just get sloppy fat. They bulk and they get sloppy fat thinking they're going to build muscle. But donuts do not build muscles, get it? And pasta and bread.
Guys need to be realistic with that. Again, we come over to that other point.
Yes?
Come over to that point.
Yes,
You guys
Blaha.
need to understand how
You need to
long
understand.
it's going to take an
You peasant slaves need to understand. We're going to get to that point.
average height guy to get to 170, 180.
That average height guy, you want to know why he refers to you as being average height? Because you're not going to be fully developed on the slave food peasant diet like him. Get it? He's underdeveloped. Yeah.
10 to 12% body fat.
Uh-huh.
You're looking at many, many years of serious work. It's going to take you a long.
Yeah, it's going to take you a long time on the slave food peasant diet. That's for sure. The way all of you are going. All your lifting, and that peasant slave food diet, bro, it may take you 100 years if you're lucky at that. That's why Blah is still slaving away at 48 here. Slaving away at it on the peasant slave food diet and never making it.
Time. We're talking 10 plus years. And when people
We're talking 10 plus years. This is like he's giving you peasant slaves a lesson. If you think you're going to get rich working for minimum wage at your minimum wage job, your peasant slave minimum wage job, well, good luck. If you save enough money, it will take you 20 years to get to a relative amount of money. But even then, you're never going to quite make it. That's what Blaha's admitting. He's admitting that all of you on your $10 an hour job, your slave job, peasant slave job, right, that you took up, and you're thinking you're going to get rich, right? And you're thinking maybe you'll buy a house or do something. It might take you 20, 30 years to get there. Right after saving up a down payment, a bunch of money, if you're lucky, 30 years. Get it? See what I mean? But here's the thing. If you actually start making money, right? Let's say you sell product like other people. You start doing business and you start making money as opposed to working for $10 an hour. So you start making a huge amount of money. Well, guess what? It won't take you 10 or 20 years to get there. 10, 30 years, 20, 30 years to get there. It'll take you a year to get there. Get it? In a year, you could get to where you would get to working for minimum wage 30 years. Get it? Saving money. You could get there in 1 year just making money. See the difference? Now, if you're on a slave food, peasant food diet, it'll take you 30 years. But if you're on a high nutrient animal diet, raw animal diet, it'll take you 1 year. Get it, dude? Yeah, I'm not joking. It'll take you 1 year. If you train properly, not like a slave, slaves, they come in consistently working. If you train smart and come in periodically and eat consistently instead of being a slave and eat consistently, then you will make it there in a year. But if you follow Blaha, then it'll take you 30 years and maybe more, 40 years.
People need to remember when we talk about a natural limit, well, how late you start matters because
See, there's a natural limit. The only limit is the limit that you place on yourself. Just like these slaves that work for minimum wage, like Blaha. They work for $10 an hour. They have placed a limit on themselves. See what I mean? Now, the rich people have not, these people that go out to make money, they have not placed limits on themselves. There's no limit. They'll tell you there's no limit to making money. It's endless. You can make money forever.
eventually testosterone and IGF-1 and stuff will start to decline at a certain age, and that's going to...
Oh, testosterone and IGF will start to decline at a certain age, but meat has IGF in it. It's filled with IGF. So that's not going to quietly diminish. But is your endocrine system going to go down somewhat? I don't know. It depends. If you exceed breakdown, if you can afford to eat animal products, you won't have those problems. You actually will not have that problem. But it only declines because your diet is insufficient to keep up. Here's the thing. Your slave food diet is insufficient in nutrients to keep up with this so-called decline. You're not really declining. You're deteriorating because you can't keep up because the nutrient value in your slave food, peasant food diet. Get it? Fuck.
Continue the rest of your life, and you will reach a point where you simply didn't accrue enough years under the barbell, right? At a young enough age
But you don't have to if you can afford it.
Reach the total limits for your hormone profile, and then your hormone profile starts to limit you and you start to lose muscle, because that will eventually happen with age.
Yeah, only this so-called with age, losing muscle or testosterone, he wants to put you on TRT. Only slaves go on there because their diets are deficient in creating hormones. They're eating slave food diets. People that can afford to eat animal products don't have these problems. They don't need TRT or any of these things. They're not fucking deteriorating. That's why you'll notice some slaves deteriorate faster than other slaves. It's all dependent on what they're eating. That's why the much lower class, if they eat more slave food diet than animal product, they deteriorate way faster. Then you have the middle class. They're deteriorating quite quickly, and then you have the upper class. There's less deterioration. And then you have the elite at the top. They are definitely not deteriorating. And you don't even see them because they don't want to be seen.
With nothing to help you, that's eventually going to happen. So that's the stuff that you need to worry about. And so realistically, no one is going to get too big drug-free nonsense.
See, of course, no one realistically is going to get big drug-free. Want to know why? Because slave food diet, only the slaves.
Doesn't happen, shouldn't even be a concern on the table.
Oh, really? Okay.
These are the...
Shouldn't be a concern on the table because Blaha says so. That's why. Anyways, friends, I'll see you in the next video. Tell us what you think about that. Like, subscribe, support the channel. Don't be a peasant. Don't join these peasant people. Try to break the chains of peasantry. Get it? See you in the next one. Ciao, man.